So I'm Laura Cross, and I sing in the alto 2 section with A Cappella Plus. And I'm here with my buddy Lisa today because we both met Trish at the same time and we're the newest members, both been with A Cappella Plus for 3 years now. And just think Trish is an amazing musician. We happened to meet her in China when we went on a wonderful tour that was opened up to more than just A Cappella Plus. And I was astounded with Trisha's leadership style and her musicianship. And I got lucky enough to be accepted into A Cappella Plus after that trip. And I haven't looked back. And it's a great, small, wonderful choir full of talented musicians. And I'm so happy to be part of it. Over to you, Lisa.
Well, thank you. My name's Lisa Dupre. I'm in the soprano section. Actually, I did know Trish beforehand. I had done a couple of concerts with the Vancouver Island Symphony Choir, which she had been conducting at that time. And when I heard that she was going to be doing the China tour, I jumped right in, and it certainly helped having my sister going along as well, who is a longer member of A Cappella Plus. And so after the trip, and then with Mila being in A Cappella Plus, it just cemented the fact that I really needed to be singing with my sister.
Well, the other great thing about Trish is every rehearsal that I experience, I don't know how Lisa feels, is like a music lesson at the beginning. She's always giving us information about how we can improve our musical skills or our vocal skills. And that's what I appreciate the best, is that she challenges us to be the best we can be. And it's not always easy singing. It's actually very challenging and lots of work. We have lots of homework, right, Lisa?
No, we do, yes.
So, I'm Tiger. I guess, I don't know, I just graduated. Bachelor of Science in Mathematics, and then I have to say how old? Nobody else says how old.
That doesn't really matter, yeah.
Yeah. I think I'm the youngest though, so 22. So I'm the youngest in the choir, but everybody's pretty up with the times, so I don't feel really out of place. Let's see. So when I first joined A Cappella Plus, it was pretty good because I like their music. They were doing the 70s, 80s show, I think, or the 60s, 70s, 80s show. So we were doing a bunch of that kind of music, and I really like that. I also really like classical music. So I guess it's just the level of singing and also the type of music that we sing, which is pretty good. And I guess they're a natural progression for me, because I think in high school I was part of like this barbershop a cappella group, and I was like co-president of, so I really like that kind of stuff.
A Cappella Plus is the smallest choir I've ever belonged to. And because of its size, it means that we sing in small venues often, or in cabaret style. And that's quite new to me. And I remember my earliest concert was at the Port Theatre lobby, and the audience was really up close. And when we started to sing, the first thing I noticed that just beyond Patricia, there was a gentleman. And I swear I think he smiled throughout the entire concert. It felt that way anyways. And it really brought me a lot of joy. And I found that being in the senior homes, and they're tapping their feet and they're smiling and they love to sing along, it's such fun. And what I've discovered is that I enjoy that it's so easy for me to see such smiling faces and the support of family and friends and total strangers. This extra close connection with a happy, reactive audience, that's a great part of the A Cappella Plus experience.
I've been singing with A Cappella Plus now for over 25 years. And this group has performed in so many interesting and beautiful spots around downtown Nanaimo and surrounding area. With the group, it's been a real joy to be able to perform right here in Swayalana Lagoon in the band shelter for Canada Day and for the coming of the Olympic flame. That was really exciting. With this group, we've also been able to go and take our music on the road. We've gone to Lasqueti Island and Cobble Hill, and we've been to Port Alberni and across performing in Vancouver. We've collaborated with so many interesting choirs. We've even managed, some of us, and not the entire group, but some of us have toured China and sung in some of the great halls of China, toured Europe, and we're looking forward to going to Spain in the future.
This is my 10th year in the group, and 10 years ago I was in another choir, and A Cappella Plus was always the choir to watch in any of the community performances, like the Carol Festival especially. I always look forward to seeing them there. And when I saw that they were accepting new members, I decided to audition. I didn't think I'd get in, but I thought, what the heck, I'll give it a try. And I did. And for some strange reason, I got in. And yeah, it has not disappointed. It has been probably the best musical experience I've had. And that's across many years and many musical experiences. So I think I found my musical home with A Cappella Plus.
My name is Linda Dyer, and I sing alto with A Cappella Plus. What do I like about being a member of A Cappella Plus? Well, the first thing that I have to say is that this is a group of people who are all very, very different individually, but the one thing that we all have in common is a love of music and singing. And so that's the thing that keeps us all working together. We work well because we want to learn the music, we want to perform well, we love to laugh, and there's always lots of humor in our rehearsals, so it goes quickly and it's always a lot of fun. The music that we sing has a lot of variety. I personally like music that challenges me, and I get a good smattering of that in every term. And I like music that's just fun and funny to sing too, and I get that as well. So it's an eclectic repertoire that keeps me interested and keeps me loving what I'm doing. It makes the rehearsals fun to attend and easy to hang in with. This is a choir that has very strong leadership. We have a very strong executive who keep things in order and keep things moving forward. And our director, Trish, is an excellent leader. She's a wonderful teacher, and she's a great leader. Through this pandemic, Trish has made sure that we've all stayed connected. And I don't think that that's happened with very many choirs anywhere, actually, not just in BC. But we are very, very lucky to have had Trish. She has kept us connected, and she's kept us singing. And that's been really good. So I think that really, I would just wrap it up by saying that A Cappella Plus adds community, fun, love, and pleasure to my life.
Well, introduce yourself.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm Lonnie Model, and I've been with A Cappella for 2 directors. So I joined, I think, probably 2 years after David did, because I was busy doing other things on Thursday nights, so I couldn't be in A Cappella Plus for a while. So yeah, my time has been wonderful with A Cappella Plus. It's, as David said, a joy to sing with other people. it's a joy to sing in 4-part and sometimes 8-part harmony with even a small group. I remember one piece where I think there were 14 notes and there were 14 people in the group, and we each had a note. Like everybody had a different note in this piece, so that was kind of fun to sing, that knowing everybody in the choir was singing a different note at the same time. Fun. Yes, the joy of being together on Thursday nights. Obviously, it's been very different these last months with having to be apart. But we are getting together by Zoom, which is a totally different experience. Some good, some not so good, but at least we are doing it. It's better than not doing anything at all, which would be very, very sad. So at least we get to see each other on screen, if not in person. And for a while we were meeting distantly, and even if we got together at the Port Theatre for a couple of practices, well distanced, it was nice to be together even for that short time, to be able to hear each other and sing all at the same time and actually hear those harmonies, because right now we're pretty isolated in what we were practicing. Yes, all the wonderful times that we've had over the years and the trips, it's always special and has been. And we look forward to more of those special times in the future, for sure.
Well, I'm David Model, and I think I was trying to figure out, I think I've been in the choir 17 years through 3 directors. And so it's been a pretty important part of my life for the and continues to be. Been, seen a lot of change and yet a lot of the same as well. I guess what I like about the choir, there's several things. Do you want us to go back and forth, or?
Yeah, what would probably work best is if you took a whole turn, so like you go all the way through for yourself and then Lonnie, but
Okay.
if that's better to just take turns, that's totally fine.
I mean, obviously the singing is one of the things that I love the most, particularly the fact that over the years, A Cappella Plus has stood for trying to sing, I guess what I would call close harmony. So the challenge of trying to keep those parts working together and listening to each other and making those work so that the product is a product of that very close, tight harmony, working together, and a polished product, I guess, would be the way of saying it. So there's been some, I think, notable moments over the years when we've accomplished that to a high degree, and there's been, I guess, when I think of the choir, I think of moments over the years, and I'm sure other people have talked about the moments. There were highlights where we got to sing in special circumstances or sang something really well and really nailed it. And it's funny, it's not always in a concert. Like sometimes it was singing at Haven on Gabriola after supper for other people that were staying there, and singing a couple of pieces, I think fairly well, though Dan might disagree, but and getting response from these people who didn't know us, that was very powerful response, and that kind of thing. Singing on the ferry one time coming back from Powell River, singing in Cathedral in Victoria, singing outdoors in a couple of situations. So so that I guess, those opportunities to sing in special circumstances, and all the concerts over the years, they all were different, and yet, and all special in their own way. Some of them challenging, like the time we sang at Brecken and the sun was beating into our faces, and the temperature was, I think, pretty close to 36 or 37 degrees. It was pretty tough to concentrate. Um, but yeah, we've had some wonderful concerts over the years. A couple in the Port Theater that were wonderful. Um, and of course, the three directors gave us all different kinds of perspectives, and I learned a lot from every one of them. And then, of course, you learn a lot from each other as well. So that's powerful, to sing with other people that you learn from and are wonderful musicians in their own right. And I guess just the opportunities to do things together as a choir. The retreats on Gabriel Island, the retreats on the Skeety Island were crazy and fun. And then through the choir, we've gotten to go on trips, more recently overseas, China and Scotland and Croatia, things like that. So these are opportunities that we wouldn't have had if we weren't in A Cappella Plus, and they stand out. Um, I guess the final thing I would say is that, you can be dead tired, and I'm sure other people will say the same thing. You can be exhausted from whatever's going on in your life, and you sort of drag yourself to practice on Thursday night, and after the 2 hours, you can't believe the 2 hours have gone by, and you're energized and excited and pleased with what you've been doing. It's sort of it's one of those things that every week you get that opportunity to recharge yourself and remind yourself how wonderful it is to make music with other people. So those would be some of the highlights for me at my time in A Cappella Plus. Does that give you something to work with? Or?
I'm Nancy Twynham, and I sing alto. And as with most choirs, one of the great joys or things that caused me to join A Cappella Plus over 10 years ago now is it's the opportunity to sing together with others and to create friendships. So during the last 10 years, I've had the privilege of performing alongside just an amazing group of people and singers. Over the years, we've shared concerts, we've laughed at glitches, we've had great food and shared drinks and sang in many concerts. A lot of us traveled to China and Croatia and Scotland. And during countless hours on buses and planes and in airports and on trains, our friendships grew. And we did a lot of rehearsing in those buses and in airports and even on the planes. This past year, of course, we didn't have the opportunity to perform together. And so while we all still very much yearn for that time, we do actually get really excited on our Zoom rehearsals when we see each other's pictures come as we click into the Zoom meeting. And then we have lots of fun. Lots of chatter goes on until we all have to mute, of course, so that we can sing under Trish's amazing directorship. It's important to note that Trish, as our director, has shown us not just that we sing for ourselves and each other, but we bring a lot of joy to people who come to our concerts or when we go to the senior centers to sing for them. It just brings joy to everybody's lives. And so while I am tolerant for our need to rehearse via Zoom this year, I really can't wait until we can get together, share hugs and music, and perform for others.
One of the things that we've done over the past little while, at least over the past several years, is recording and videoing our performances, which I really enjoy doing, mostly selfishly because I like to go back over the stuff. I like to see what we've done. I've come to the conclusion that we're a pretty good choir. It's rare that you get a whole bunch of people from different walks of life who've come together for just one reason, and that's to sing. And it's surprising. I mean, we have so many people doing so many different things, some working, some retired. It doesn't really matter. But in the end, every Thursday we come together and we just have a good time singing. And the thing that I really like is that the singing that comes out is quality. Nothing's perfect, but in the end, whenever we have a concert, you know, whether it's in Parksville or whether it's in Nanaimo, we end up having a really good time. And when we have a good time, the audience has a good time. So that's why I enjoy A Cappella Plus as well. That's why I like recording, because it's good to go back over those past performances just to see how we've done. And lately we've been doing a few audios where virtual singing, where people just send in their voices and then I just sort of mix it together to form an audio. And that's been fairly successful, although it'll be really, really nice when we can get back together again and sing. Because that's when you feed off each other, and that's when the quality of work gets better every single week.
I've been in the same choir for 40 years, and my response was it hasn't been the same choir. It's changed so much over the time, so I thought that I might talk a bit about that.
Yeah,
but you know, I'm one of the 3 originals, so I suppose that's worth making clear. Okay, well, yeah, my name is James Duthie. I'm one of the original members. We started in 1980, so it's been a long time, and our present director, Trish, expressed surprise once that we'd been in the choir so long, and my response was that it hasn't been the same choir for 40 years. It's had different, you know, it's changed quite a bit from time to time. So we started off as a madrigal group spun off from Malaspina Choir, and we began by singing madrigals unaccompanied and you know, early music kind of stuff. And we gradually branched out, and Val knows more about the history than I do, but you know, we began to sing a wider range of songs, folk songs, and then moving into art songs and more popular stuff. So we've always been very eclectic indeed. And we got a director. We've had 3 now, so you know, they shaped the program a bit. What was interesting to me was that in the 1990s we had some young teachers who were members who were jazz musicians. So we spent more time singing vocal jazz on mic than we had done before or since, and that was interesting because vocal jazz is hard and singing on microphones is a different technique, so that really stretched us, and we did some great concerts during that time. Folk sax and jazz was one of them, with Steve Jones providing saxophone accompaniment, so that was fun. And then in the 2000s we had Rosemary Lindsay, and she did some very diverse programming, a lot more world music. So we had one program which was called From Down Under to Up There, which featured Australian and Scandinavian music. And that's unusual programming, and again, it was fun to do, and there was a lot of contemporary stuff, which we greatly enjoyed. And now we have Trish, so we're on a different kind of tack. So it's always, the point is, it's always been interesting. There's always been different kinds of music to sing, different musical challenges, different people to sing with. We've had a number of members, but it's always been a pretty friendly choir, so that's a good aspect.
Hi, I'm Val Duthie, wife of James, and we started, well, we didn't actually start the choir, somebody started it with us, and then we broke off and made a choir called A Cappella Plus in the 1980s. We were first called in Nanaimo A Cappella Singers, and once we were introduced to function as the Acapulco Singers, but that's okay. So we started off doing madrigals and folk unaccompanied, and Then we got into accompaniment and did some jazz, some mic work. We rehearsed in our house to start with, and we had a table and a lamp on top, and we were all standing around with our music, doing that. And our children were in their bedrooms listening to us. And they once said, if I have to hear "Now is the Month of Maying" again, I'm going to scream, because they didn't particularly like it. But anyway, I've learned a lot from the choir. We've done so much different kind of music. The reason I like the choir is it's very small, and you have to know your music. And you don't feel that if you weren't there, it wouldn't matter. It makes a difference if you're not there. So I think that's a good thing. And I've learned a lot from the three conductors. We've had Bruce Farquharson started us off. He came out of the choir on the bass line and took over as conductor. And then we had Rosemary Lindsay, and now we have Trish. And they all brought very different things to the choir.
I was trying to think which groups has A Cappella Plus collaborated with over the years, and there's a lot. I think there's some classic ones. You may have heard of this already. Our very first official concert in Nanaimo, the Powell River Chorus had been down in the early spring, I think, and did a concert at which we were present. And they mentioned that they were looking for a host choir for when they came to do this concert. And Malaspina Choir, which many of us belong to, wasn't really interested. They were too busy. So we decided, well, we could do that. We could host them. And then got thinking, really, could we? Do we have enough stuff? And panic ensued. But eventually the Powell River Chorus showed up, and we had our concert with them, and it went reasonably well. And they invited us back to Powell River. I thought, that's fun. Yeah, we can do that. Little did we realize that the concert they were inviting us to was their 30th anniversary concert, and I mean, the Lieutenant Governor was there. People in the theater in Powell River all in their, dressed up to their nines. And we were 8 people from Nanaimo who were, to be blunt, woefully unprepared for this. We got through it. And then on the ferry on the way back, we had a big argument about it. My poor wife was on her very first trip anywhere with a cappella, and I suspect that she never wanted to go anywhere with us again, but of course, being dutiful, she did. So it was, but that was actually the point at which we made a decision that maybe we needed to put more of our resources into a cappella and less into Malaspina. So most of us dropped out of Malaspina choir, and we went full-time with a cappella, which wasn't, of course, called that then. I think we were the Nanaimo, at that point we would have been the Nanaimo a cappella singers, or maybe just the Madrigal group. So that was one of our first travel incidents. We had another interesting travel experience. We went across to Ucluelet one spring for something that they were hosting there called the Ucluelet Spring Sing. There were a number of community choirs present, and there was some workshops and fun and things, like there usually are these things, but then there was the final concert, and they set up some plywood platforming for everybody to get everybody crammed into this room. And the group standing next to us, an amateur choir from Victoria, we were right next to the men, who apparently thought it was appropriate to stamp their feet on the floor to keep time. Of course, the floor was a wooden drum, and so they more or less drowned out the entire choir with this repetitive boom, 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 which not only was annoying, but was frequently off the beat. So we finished up that experience, which other than that, by the way, was fine. On the Sunday morning, we all went out to Wickaninish Beach, all the choirs together, and our spouses and whoever else. And there was a church service there led by the Anglican priest from Ucluelet. And it was pouring, absolutely pouring. And he was standing there in a full sou'wester, the yellow garment with the hat over the cape and whatever, which he announced was Ucluelet ecclesiastic gear. And so we all sang along, watching the bouncing umbrella of the person conducting, because that's really all we could see. We were all holding our umbrellas and trying to keep our music dry. It was an experience. We had fun, but we got a little wet. I mean, we had lots of experiences over the years, funny things happening, strange and wonderful events. One of the first weddings we sang at was actually my wedding. We're still in octet then, just the 8 of us, and off they went to Vancouver to sing at our wedding. One of the basses of the group at that time was my best man, Patrick. My wife-to-be informed us that we had to stay up with her at the front. We weren't allowed to go over and sing with the choir. So it was just the 6 of them singing, and then when we finally got the reception, Patrick and I were released from this so that we could go sing My Happy Valentine, which is what we sang as the sort of the toast to the bride. Anyway, we had and that was another good time that we had together. And you're asking about the different formats A Cappella Plus has used for performances. Well, I mean, we're a choir. We sing like a choir, often in rows. We had some risers made that we could, portable risers we could use to hold the group of us in a semicircle, and we used those. We have sung with jazz quartets. We have sung with other choirs. We've sung concerts where we broke up into smaller groups throughout the concert with quartets or trios or whatever as part of a concert. Not sure what else I could say about that. What else would you like to know, Mario?
I think you covered so much. Yeah, if there's nothing else to say, that's absolutely fine. Definitely got a lot of really useful stuff from that. And I love the little funny anecdotes you also had. Yeah.
I have one other anecdote that's a bit embarrassing, but I can tell you.
Oh, for sure.
This was in the early days, and we had a performance in the summer. I believe it was for the Canada Day weekend at the Bailey Theatre in Nanaimo. And it happened to coincide with a big family dinner at my house. I believe it was my mother-in-law's birthday, significant decade birthday, all these things. Whole family's there, and we got this big dinner, and I'm telling myself, you gotta sing in an hour, so just don't overdo it. But everybody gets talking and having dinner, and before you know it, I've eaten a full turkey dinner, which is not the best thing when you're going to go sing in a concert shortly after. And so during the concert, I had hiccups. Trying to suppress these hiccups and trying to sing and trying to make sure the audience didn't know I was hiccuping in the middle of singing, none of which were terribly successful, I would say. I think one of my more embarrassing moments in the choir, or anywhere else for that matter. And the only other one is coming from work to a concert at Malaspina. It was still Malaspina College then. The concert was immediately after work, and I warned everybody that it was going to be very difficult for me to get there on time, but I arrived shortly after the concert began, and I was trying to sneak on stage, quietly sneak in behind and join, but the college person in charge, Colin McQuarrie, made a big deal about the late tenor arriving, and I just grinned and bear it, but I would have liked to have shot him. It was bad enough being late without having to be pointed out to the entire audience. However, we soldiered on and we sang. I don't think I've got anything else, Mario. That's my store of silly incidents.
So I've been in A Cappella Plus since the early 90s, although I was away for a couple of seasons a few years back. Singing for a live audience is always so exciting and somewhat unpredictable. One Christmas, we were performing on stage at Bevan Park during the Festival of Trees, and the lighting was dim and the ambient noise from the crowd made it difficult to hear our director up at the front. So wouldn't you know it, I misheard the next song title. And I pulled out Ding Dong Merrily on High. And at the conductor's downbeat, I confidently belt out, ding, while to my horror, the rest of the choir is murmuring a very hushed, silent night. I was singing the wrong song. Never quite lived down that blunder. Anyway, we do have a lot of fun together, and our director, Patricia Plumley, is fantastic.